Hi, my name is Morgan Stern. I'm the Vice President of Automation and Orchestration Strategy at Itential. And today I'm going to be talking about integrating the Itential Automation Platform with BPMN systems. First, I wanted to kind of set the stage by comparing traditional BPMN systems with what we consider to be the kind of network automation we do at Itential. BPMN stands for Business Process Management Notation. And there are a whole range of tools that are oriented around BPMN, things like Camunda. But the whole idea of BPMN is to provide a graphical representation of a business process. That's in contrast to network automation workflows, similar to the kind we use at Itential, where we're using workflow to represent network and orchestration processes. And this will become important, as you'll see in a few minutes. To provide a good comparison of BPMN and network automation workflows, I'm going to take a look at three different levels. First, we'll talk about the differences in how each system uses workflow. Next, we'll talk about how tasks are differentiated in between the two platforms. And then we'll talk about the platform system differences, so that meaning the systems and tools that are available for design and execution of the different automations. So first, let's look at workflow. In the BPMN world, BPMN workflows are typically built with design tools that support BPMN 2.0. There are a lot of tools out there, things like Visio, things like Draw.io, all have support for BPMN 2.0. This is one of the reasons I think that BPMN has been able to catch on as it has, is that there's pretty broad support for being able to create BPMN workflow diagrams. The underlying code for BPMN is in XML and its own BPMN 2.0 language. And the workflows that are created by the BPMN tools are typically executed by some kind of workflow engine that's designed for executing BPMN, things like Camunda. As I mentioned earlier, most BPMN processes and the history of BPMN has really been oriented around using it as a generic tool for defining business processes. And so when you think about the options around developing BPMN workflows, it's absolutely true that you can create a workflow without needing to use any code, but there's a special kind of task, a service task, which we'll be talking about shortly, which does require some level of coding or scripting behind it. In contrast, for the Itential platform, the Itential workflows are all created within the design side of the Itential Automation Studio. Itential utilizes JSON as the underlying representation of the code for the workflows, and the workflows are executed on the Itential Automation Platform workflow engine. These, as we've said, are designed around network automation and orchestration flows, so there are a lot of built-in capabilities that are oriented around networking. And for the Itential platform, where we really are truly looking at no-code environments, where not only are we providing end users with the ability to create workflows without any code, but all of the underlying service tasks as well require no additional coding. So now that we've mentioned tasks a couple of times, let's talk about what that means. Within a workflow basically is a end-to-end process that's composed of tasks. Tasks can perform any kinds of action, but typically it's around performing a very atomic action. So make an API call, grab a data payload might be an example. Within the world of BPMN, tasks can represent all kinds of activities, but the key kind of task I want to focus on here is what they call a service task. So unlike some tasks which may be responsible for providing conditional execution or maybe in as a representation for a manual step in the process, a BPMN service task is a special kind of task that's used for performing interactions with systems and running capabilities that are outside of the workflow itself. So typically in a network and orchestration environment, people are using service tasks to do those execution of the networking interactions and with interactions with the OSS systems. In the BPMN world, a service task is typically created manually Either somebody creates a microservice or requests an existing microservice, or they create a script, or they execute a playbook that performs the task logic. It's important when contrasting the two systems to understand that the service task functionality is separate from the service task, and it's not native to the BPM platform, and it may require significant development or needs to be provided by an existing service. Service tasks can also be references to an external API, and down at the bottom you can see an example of a service task. In this case, it's saying get a list of customer sites. Compare that to a task within Itential automation platform. In the Itential world, the majority of all tasks are dynamically generated through a couple of different actions. One is any of the applications that are provided in the Itential platform automatically come with service tasks that are associated with performing the function calls that application provides. So for example, compliance management functionality, which is available interactively through an application, can also be executed as a service task, but that's automatic. You get that. You don't need to create anything special for that. Additionally, when you do an integration by creating an adapter or doing a real-time integration with the platform will dynamically generate all of the service tasks. So if you want to interact with the network, interact with services and systems, you don't need to do any additional coding. There's no notion of having a service task script being separate but referenced by a service task like you do in BPMN. So in this case, what we're seeing is in a lot of environments, people are able to immediately start to use functionality from the system as well as functionality from the systems that they integrate with. So if they create an integration with an inventory system, they don't need to do any additional coding. All of those functions are dynamically generated as part of the adapter creation, and they're ready to go. Let's talk a little bit about comparison of the platform, and then where I want to go is talk about how we are seeing our Itential customers integrating between BPMN and Itential activities. So as I mentioned earlier, BPMN platforms really came up out of the need for creating an environment to design and execute generic business processes. So it's extremely flexible. You can model just about any business process and execute that on a BPMN platform. So the idea was saying, let's support generically a whole range of things. Downside being now it requires some customization. So as we mentioned in the task section, the ability for a task to do anything is very much dependent on functionality that's provided by something external to the platform. And what we have seen as some customers who are using BPMN-based systems today, they've tried to replicate some of the functionality that's native to Itential platform, and it's proven to be pretty complicated and very costly because there's additional functionality provided on the Itential platform, which we'll talk about shortly, that is really not something that you can replicate in a generic business process language. The Itential platform is designed 100% around network automation and orchestration use cases. And so a lot of the tools that are native to the platform that require no additional development are really designed around focusing a diverse set of network environments. So true multi-domain interactions across physical, virtual, cloud assets. We wanted to optimize around making it as easy as possible, not just to integrate with those systems, but then to provide that functionality automatically. So the additional tasks that are created during install all support the capabilities and features of the IAP platform. So things like device and object federation, which is native to the platform, that's exposed automatically to the task users. Things like dynamic integration, automatically exposed. So what we're seeing for a number of folks is figuring out in those environments where they've got a significant investment in BPMN, maybe at a higher level, maybe in the service layer for coordinating some of the business process, how can they best utilize both technologies in order to get the best outcome. So to understand that, let's talk about some of the unique things that the Itential platform does, and then we'll talk about integration models. So one of the built-in capabilities of the Itential platform is an application called Config Manager. And Config Manager provides a set of functionality and tools around managing lifecycle of configuration. And this goes for systems, network devices like routers and switches, just about any object that can be interacted with on the Itential platform. We're providing lifecycle functionality. Additionally, we've provided a series of data transformation capabilities. So similar to enabling folks to auto-generate tasks, no code generation of tasks through adapter creation, we wanted to provide a way where they could do very powerful data transformations without having to generate any code. Additionally, we built in native functionality around what we're calling command templates and analytic templates. And these are designed to simplify those activities that typically accompany any kind of big network change, where folks will ordinarily want to do a set of pre-checks and post-checks to confirm that the network is as it should be, and both before and after the change. We've built in a lot of the functionality so that you can simply just define the kinds of checks you want to do, and you can leverage those pre-built functions to do it. We talked about dynamic task creation. This is a big time saver for a lot of our customers. And then for federation, right? This is as a function of the platform operation, we are providing a real-time mapping of every connected device, service, and asset that we have visibility to, which greatly simplifies the execution of any kind of automation logic. So for us at Itential, we're firm believers in right tool, right job kinds of approach, where you're really looking to leverage best of breed in any given function, and then utilizing integration to pull all the pieces together. For us, we see BPMN workflows as the ideal place to do generic business process definition and execution of higher level business processes. It's really designed for interaction with microservices. So if you've already got a robust environment around microservices, you'll get some benefit from there. And we think it's really efficient at defining like high level cross-team, cross-domains, cross-organization processes. For Itential, we really think that it's best suited for defining detailed network automation and orchestration processes. This is for those activities where interaction with the network is really important, and things like order of operations is essential, and really being able to provide a rich set of visibility and interaction capability with the network becomes essential. Itential is designed from the ground up for interaction across network environments. So this is cloud, this is physical, this is virtual. We are familiar and have tools and pre-built integrations and automations for managing configuration, for interacting with network services, and providing full lifecycle of network activities. And so really, I think that the piece that we see folks getting the most benefit is the fact that we are eliminating a whole lot of coding. So not only can you define your workflow at a high level, but you can also avoid any of the functional coding associated with service tasks. We see there are 4 options for integrating BPMN systems with the Itential platform, and it really depends on what the current environment looks like, and it depends on how the organization is set up and how you want the functionality to be deployed. First option would be conversion. For folks that have tried and failed to replicate very detailed network interactions in BPMN, there's always an option to do a conversion. It's something that is relatively simple and straightforward because of the fact that we don't need to necessarily recreate anything on the service task side. In the short term, we can make calls to existing service task scripts, and as folks become more comfortable with the platform, they can replicate the functionality with already pre-built tasks. Second would be where a BPMN system calls an IAP service task. So in this case, the majority of execution is happening in the BPMN workflow by the BPMN engine. And instead of referencing a script, a service task can reference a function from the Itential platform. Third would be around BPMN outsourcing an entire sub-process to an IAP workflow. This might be a situation where, like service order management functionality, where there's a number of interactions that are happening at a higher business layer that they still want to preserve in the BPMN system, whereas for the very detailed networking, they can make a call out as a sub-process. And then the fourth case would be for where IAP is providing the master workflow, and then it may be calling a BPMN workflow to execute some kind of business change. As I said, whichever model works, based on the outcomes and based on the cost, based on the integration complexity of developing on either platform, I think those are the factors that become the most relevant. So just to wrap up, the key points around integrating Itential with BPMN, we really think that there's a strong opportunity for organizations that have existing investments in BPMN to leverage IAP for providing that advanced network functionality. We think it's been proven in the field to be really easy to expose IAP functionality to BPMN workflows. And we think that BPMN users can get immediate benefit by deploying IAP if all they did was reference the IAP system for service task execution. We want to be clear, we provide plenty of options around integration, and we really think that it's up to the organization to figure out which one makes the most sense. And then for new use cases, we think the architects need to sit down and look at the relative strengths of each system and figure out which one is best suited for their use case. That's all I plan to talk about today on this video, so I thank you for your time. If you have questions, you can contact us at info@itential.com, and thank you very much.